So it's been a few weeks after the road to WrestleMania has concluded. The culmination of the Superstar shakeup is upon us, is now gone. We're about to start off a new era, a new chapter, a new generation of talent. Even though some of these guys are now pushing near out of their prime, except for McIntyre and Rollins. So we started up the show tonight. Seth Rollins coming out, obviously trying to get a huge pop and a huge fucking big showcase is gonna be upon us with a two triple threat matches to see who will be going to the main event of Monday Night Raw and be facing Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank 4 weeks into the pay per view. So they're trying to make as much build up as possible. Sometimes that could be decent, but sometimes it would feel rushed to me because you have two triple threat matches in one night. You have these guys pulling up double duty if one of them wins any of their triple threat matches. So why couldn't you just let them? This isn't a tournament. This is 4 weeks until Money in the Bank. So I don't understand why they're still trying to rush a showcase of their talents. Because other than that, I think the first triple threat match was quite entertaining, involving AJ Styles, Mojo, and Rey Mysterio. Mysterio was on SmackDown, so it was on Raw, and so was The Miz from SmackDown Live, and so was Samoa Joe, because obviously we need a minor championship representing the brand. So we got Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, The Miz, and Rey Mysterio from SmackDown. And Chad Gable on SmackDown now, if you folks were confused about last week. So this was a triple threat matches starting off the show. I already told you the first one later on the night was Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and of course the Miz that had a decent finish. But anything else, it was nearly the same typical triple threat match that you would get. Mixed move from the top rope. If a guy's gonna do there was a freaking great. I'll talk about the rest of the match later. But anything else was a really good showcase of Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe, of a decent Pele kick, good running senton, great moonsault by Rey Mysterio. I thought Rey Mysterio, he's always a good highlight factor, despite his age and despite his experience he has in the ring. He's not a ring general. He's still a luchador. So obviously he'll still showcase what he has. And even though was chasing the Universal Championship, he was still technically in a feud with Samoa Joe. So I think they'll continue with a U.S. title feud. I didn't want the United States Championship on. I don't want the U.S. title on Raw. On Raw, I like it back on SmackDown. It fits them. But anything else? This was a fun match. It ended up with Rey Mysterio being power bombed on Samoa Joe, and then a Styles clash on Rey Mysterio for the big 1-2-3. What a finish! It was a good match. Really good start to the show. But they wanted a triple threat match opener. But obviously they need to save their energy up because these guys are doing double duty. Next up was not that big of a segment. Next up was Naomi versus Billie Kay. After fucking Bayley went to SmackDown, she was used as a and Naomi was technically used as a substitute tag team partner after Sasha Banks didn't show up for 2 weeks. And that's the third week, and she had a botched Hurricane Rana. She had a botched. I think it was supposed to go for a botched Hurricane Rana. Then she still went for those stupid little sidekicks that she did. Because now the Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are just getting jobbed out every time they're in single feuds, but they'll cheat to win. I understand you're trying to build them up as heels, So letting them lose one-on-one against baby faces for a fair fight. I get that you're trying to build up the baby faces as being tough, but a cowardice tag team like the Iconics should at least be shown more threatening. Why are they losing? Or at least why don't they cheat to win? You can do that, you know? That's stupid. That's stupid. This was a really sloppy match. I don't want the Iconics to lose, even though they're not the biggest work rate performers. They're entertaining. They're annoying. They're heels to be hated for. That's the point of building up heat. You talk shit, you get your ass beat. People hate you. The wrestlers hate you. Job done. If they're able to beat your ass, or they're able to take an ass whooping and do it pretty well, I think that's a job well done for a heel, even for the fans' perspective. They're doing what they're told. They're not supposed to be having these 5-star matches. Wrestlers are not here for that. They're not here to please Dave Meltzer. They're not here to please hardcore wrestling fans that think 5 stars. What a punch to the face. They're here to please their boss. They're here to please their fans. They're here so they can get more screen time and obviously to sell the pay-per-view that's coming up in a few weeks. So I'm just a little confused what you guys are trying to tell me here. So next segment, because it was a really crappy match, it was truly sloppy, was just immediately after the last triple threat match. We get the next one that was pretty decent. It had a pretty good finish off a surprise, off the reversal for the Future Shock, then a huge skull-crushing finale. Then trying to go for a clothesline down the ropes. It was a fast-paced ending. It ended off with McIntyre hitting the kick, but then tossing out Drew McIntyre that kicked the Miz's face down. There was the springboard axe handle. I don't know why Miz is trying this like in his like mid-30s. I'm still scared if Miz botches. This is good because Miz is actually chasing a world title now. But why have 2 triple threat matches in one show? I understand 3 hours. You have a lot of airtime for that, but Jesus, you're just letting Baron Corbin win? People thought he was gonna win off a deep 6. That's why I'm also pissed off for my SmackDown review. Get ready for that. Just, oh my god, this was not the best match, but it did have some decent highlights. I think it dragged out that much thanks there's not that much flashiness into the ring. There was a big athletic move by McIntyre. If you guys want to see the match, see it. If you guys like the resurgence of Drew McIntyre, watch the match. It's a really good showcase of why Miz and Drew McIntyre are good and why Baron Corbin is the most disinteresting wrestler alive. So I'm just gonna continue off these little tirades that Sami Zayn is getting, just disapproving of the fans, and continue just ranting and raving every week over the fans off just being annoying instead of, at least this is better than his feud with Bobby Lashley, with that sister shit. And the "This Is Your Life" segments, and the blah de blah. We had some crappy promos, but at least he's being genuine, trying to say that you shouldn't approve of what I do. But like for the fans, I'm sick of whiners for a heel. You don't have to be a whiner to be a heel. And Sami Zayn just has the ability of, like, he's skinny as fuck, so anybody's capable of kicking his ass. I don't find a point of, him just making these tirades and no baby faces are trying to showcase to shut him up at all. Like, no Apollo Crews, no Ricochet, Cedric Alexander. That had a really good match against Cesaro. Can't wait to go through that. And just no baby faces are trying to showcase their talents and they get a one-on-one match. What's wrong with you? You get no authority figures come up. You have just him making these tirades. Don't you think this is wasting screen time? Get a wrestling match in there, actually cause a feud, can make conflict, create storylines that make people watch more Raw. I think that's the point of that. You can't just make these segments and make sure they come with no repercussions or something. So Cesaro is on Raw, and I think Sheamus stays on SmackDown. I think he's suffering from an injury as well as Big E Langston. So he had this one-on-one match with the 205 Live favorite and former Cruiserweight champion, Cedric Alexander. And he wears a Tribe Called Quest colored color scheme tights. It was a really good match. Athletic, understanding the strength differential and the size differential with Cesaro and Cedric. He's really impressive. Cesaro weirdly still came out of the bar theme. That was just a mashup of Cesaro and Sheamus' theme. It's not much of a creative entrance. Because it just had Cesaro just running with green tights and crap to the ring. He didn't even come with the. I like that. I miss that. But I don't think he can do that anymore because history of his shoulder injuries and neck injuries. But this was a really entertaining match. Really just showed the cruiserweights to the heavyweights and seeing what Cedric Alexander is going to be in for the rest of the year. Even though you can do interweight matches, you can't just defend the championship. You don't have to. I think there was a backstage segment involving the tag teams coming in. There was the Revival, the Uso. There was a backstage. There was an interview going on with the Usos, and the Usos should bring up every tag team except the last tag team champions, and talking about Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, even though they're glorified jobbers and they got pinned last week. I don't know why they count Hawkins and Ryder as main contenders. I get that they're the tag team champions, and maybe the Usos have some respect for them, but they're jobbers, my nigga. They're not that important, even though they're the tag team champions. Even if it's a pay-per-view match and it's a conflicting feud, fucking their entrance will be cut off. Even if it's a run-in. But other than that, I thought the Usos were gonna have a match, but they didn't. None of the tag teams had a match except the Viking Raiders. What's wrong with the War Raiders? Because their attire is Viking themed? They had a match against the Lucha House Party that was just a glorified squash match. Not much should be told here, except the change of names recently. Bobby Roode is now Robert Roode, his real name, and the Viking Experience is now called the Viking Raid. Are you just doing this as a desperate ploy to think that you can have creative characters? What's wrong with the War Raiders? You can literally make a violent, vicious, awesome tag team with a cool name. And now you make it into the Viking Raiders because they have horns on their heads. These guys scream. They wear beards and have face paint. Let's call them the Vikings because we obviously are in 2019 and we can't make a cool, brooding tag team anymore. It's like having two black men that wear tribal gear and you call them the spear chucking fanatics. What the fuck is wrong with you? Is that really going to boost up the ratings? Are you sure some tag team called the Viking Raiders is really going to be the most memorable tag team of all time? I'm just telling you, it's 2019. You also have a team called the Lucha House Party that just got squashed by the team, and they're luchadors that strictly speak Spanish, Even though we know Kalisto, a former United States champion, and he can speak English quite well, they throw pinata and they hold pinatas and toss them into. What the fuck is with you guys? You guys are fucking stupid. Oh my god. Oh, this was not a good show. Not a good show at all, folks. Not the best, but it did have some positives. I actually saw some decent wrestling matches. Next up was Alicia Fox versus Becky Lynch in a crappy contest. There was a double takedown of I think it was supposed to be a leapfrog or some kind of leapfrog or something, but Alicia Fox botched. It was a crappy showcase because Alicia Fox kind of lost her luster. Going for a top rope move, it fucked up. It was just terrible move. It was a terrible match. What am I talking about? This was just a terrible match. Even on SmackDown, I'm about to scream on my SmackDown review. Because we already know after last week, an impromptu match was supposed to show Lacey Evans face. So why not show a Lacey Evans versus Alicia Fox to showcase her? Are they just trying to protect Lacey Evans because they know after her Royal Rumble botches that they think she can't go that much? I don't know why Becky Lynch is complaining that she can't find a competition other than Charlotte, even though at Money in the Bank she'll be facing another tall, lengthy, blonde, athletic blonde on pay-per-view. Next up was Robert Roode. That looks like Rick Rude, with just a better build. Facing off against Ricochet in a pretty good match. It was a really good match. It ended off the DDT. He was trying to hit a 630, but you know he couldn't hit that. Even though Ricochet would have to land on his back or something, or at least do a ridiculous several flips until he landed on his feet. I don't think Ricochet was selling shit. Because now Aleister Black is on SmackDown, no tag team anymore, so is Chad Gable. He's not on SmackDown. So now Bobby Roode is fully a heel with what looks like a more menacing gimmick. He still has the glorious thing, and Robert Roode is going to be stupid because he used to be called Robert Roode on TNA. Now he's Bobby Roode, but now he came to NXT to Raw. He's now Bobby Roode to Robert Roode. This is a good match. It had a decent finish. I think they should let Bobby Roode try to stack up some wins. And I know later on Ricochet might be in some big multi-man matches. He could be in the Money in the Bank match, but there shouldn't be Money in the Bank qualifiers later on. So I think that will come over the weeks on Raw and SmackDown. So I hope everything is going to be set up the way it is to make sure these mid-carders actually have some good matches and to make Money in the Bank. Even though I think it's rushed to bring Money in the Bank, that's usually a month before SummerSlam. So I don't understand why they're having it just weeks after WrestleMania. So, like, that's a big gimmick pay-per-view, even though I don't like the concept of Money in the Bank being pay-per-viewed. But whatever it can to try to make sure that they have something high risk for sagging ratings. Next up was involving the new gimmick with the Firefly Funhouse involving Bray Wyatt. Because of his crappy cult gimmick getting jobbed out every single fucking week. And his most forgettable Raw tag team title reigns with fucking wow. It's Matt Hardy and his forgettable WWE Championship reign that lasted until Mania? This was terrible. This was terrible. It was bad. It seems dark and cynical, and I think Bray Wyatt could fester on this gimmick. But anything else? I'm just curious because any wrestler that's trying something new, I'll support it. I hope this is not that cringe. It seems a bit cynical. It's a bit messed up. It still has that previous Bray Wyatt character. So let's just see what this little Firefly Funhouse can do. Obviously, it's a PG era, so no dark ass theme gimmicks like that much. So, and plus Bray Wyatt keeps getting the job now anyway. So let's just see how this is before any of you guys want to judge it, because I know like some people want to just go after Bray Wyatt because he's practically the most consistent jobber in WWE. Next up, it's the main event. That's AJ Styles versus Baron Corbin, who will win to face off against Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship at Money in the Bank. And it was AJ Styles. Obviously, no one's going to watch Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins like they did Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin in a 16-match pay-per-view for 5 hours, plus the kickoff, plus takeover, plus G1 Supercard if you're into New Japan or Ring of Honor. This was a decent match, selling the leg. AJ Styles, the commentators are actually up their game, talking about the strategies it could take to win. I don't know why they're trying to make Baron Corbin seem like this huge main event guy all because he beaten Kurt Angle in his goodbye match when he's nearly like 60. He's like in the 50s now. So how couldn't you? It's like Shawn Michaels beating Ric Flair. You know it was coming. You just didn't want to see Ric Flair lose. Because you know Michaels could have beat him whenever he wanted to. But he had too much respect for him. That's why the match was going to be good, but you know what was going to be the result. That's what made it heartbreaking. And it was also still historic at the same time. Other than Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin, it was only for like a several month feud over 2018 and capped off when Kurt Angle came back just so he could have his last match with Corbin, all because it was conflicting. So AJ Styles won off a forearm smash from a springboard. It wasn't that much to call. There was a calf crusher that always never gets a tap out now. Decent forearm smash. He was obviously trying to sell the leg that his ankle injury, that he wasn't trying to do a missile drop kick. He can't get off the top rope that much, so he couldn't do that much aerial assaults, but he still finished it off by a freaking, not by a Styles Clash, but just by the springboard forearm smash. I don't know what they're going to do for Corbin over the past coming weeks. Maybe they'll make him compete again for the Money in the Bank. The show gets a 5 out of 10. This was alright. This was, at least had entertaining wrestling matches. I thought Bray Wyatt's character was still his previous gimmick-esque, but in a lighter tone, was obviously doing the same crap over and over. And even though the previous Bray Wyatt character was kind of underutilized and he continued to lose and had the worst world title reign of all time, I think it's better if we just recycle it and try something new to get that terrible taste out of our mouth. I thought that the women's matches were kind of crap, and they're not doing much to develop Lacey Evans or at least Becky Lynch, or at least a women's division. The Iconics are losing too much. And Sami Zayn isn't with feud or anything. Nobody's conflicting. I understand that the shakeup just happened, but do something with these guys. They're not even going back on Braun Strowman and EC3 after last week. So please do something. I'm just waiting for something, waiting to be entertained. This show could have been way better. I'm just lucky that I actually gave it an average score. Other than the previous weeks where it's been continuously 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 2 out of 10 I think I gave overall. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys comment, like, and subscribe. Your opinion is always a good pleasure to have, and it always gives me room to improve and stuff that I missed up on. Thanks for watching.